Sharon's probably in the other room. Guys, we're gonna start? Just gonna call this meeting to order. Can we vote to go into closed session for discussion and or action regarding those items of business exempt from open meetings under general laws of Rhode Island, RIGL 42-46-5, A1, A2, A4, A8, A9?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Good evening, everyone. If we could just rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge of allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. If we could please remain standing. Ms. Danbrook.
So this evening, we've respectfully taken a moment to remember and honor an outstanding educator who recently passed away. She was a beautiful person inside and out. Tracy Nelson taught 4th and 5th grade students at Scott Elementary School. She was truly dedicated to her profession, students, families, and colleagues. Tracy positively impacted so many lives, and she would be deeply missed.
Thank you very much. Could I please have a vote to seal the minutes of executive session?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. No votes were taken in executive session. Next item is recognitions. Ms. Danbrook, would you like to, or is Mr. Coffey here?
Right on cue.
Right on cue.
Oh, he just walked in, okay. Good evening, Mr. Coffey.
Evening. As principal of Warwick Veterans Middle School, I stand before you on behalf of the Warwick Veterans Middle School administration, faculty, staff, and school community to honor one of our extremely dedicated teachers, Miss Tracy Scotti, who in her 17th year as an educator has been nominated for the very prestigious National Presidential Award for Excellence in Mathematics and Science Teaching. Ms. Scotti taught for 7 years in Virginia, for another 7 years in Cranston, and now in her third year with us here at Warwick Veterans. Tracy is a versatile teacher who seems to adapt well to any educational setting. When she first came to Warwick Vets, she worked as a 7th grade math teacher. Then last year, she taught 8th grade, during which time she served as a role model for her colleagues in implementing the iReady math curriculum. In fact, last year, our district iReady representative spoke very highly of Tracy's work in the classroom and her willingness to learn and try new things. Her student achievement data demonstrated her effectiveness as well. This year, Tracy is working as a math intervention teacher here at Vets as she once again learns new instructional practices that are carefully designed to meet the specific needs of her students and to provide the best support possible for students who otherwise would likely struggle with mathematics. It is also worth noting that during the recent depression, Tracy spent a great deal of time encouraging teachers and staff to take time for their own mental health and well-being. As part of that effort, she helped provide after-school activities for our faculty and staff. Tracy is an exceptional educator who goes well above and beyond for her students and her colleagues. She is also a great person for whom we care a great deal. We are all proud of you, Tracy, and grateful that you bring to every member of our school community and the district. Congratulations, Tracy. Well, I know she must be in our TV viewing audience if she's not here. Oh, she is? Oh, okay.
Tracy, on behalf of the school committee, and the school department. We are so proud of you. This award is so prestigious. And congratulations.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
I appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you so much.
On behalf of the school committee, we want to say thank you for all you do for our district, for our kids, and congratulations. You make us all proud.
Thank you.
And I'm not
It's
going to
an
shake your
honor.
hand because I have a cold.
Right, do you want to?
Trying to keep people, trying to keep people safe.
Yes.
Great. I don't want to touch anyone. I am smiling now.
I appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Tracy, congratulations. I remember being on the interviewing committee.
Thank you so much.
And it was an easy choice.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, Jim. That was great.
No, I did it. Okay, the next item is public comment on agenda items only. If it's not on the agenda, it will have to wait till the second public comment at the end of the meeting. Everybody is limited to 2 minutes, and we'll do this for 30 minutes if necessary.
Hello, Darlene Netco, English teacher of 35 years, 33 of which have been here in Warwick, a lifelong resident of Warwick, homeowner, taxpayer, graduate of Warwick Public Schools, and so forth, and president of the Warwick Teachers Union. First, I want to congratulate Tracy Scotti for this nomination for this award. Once again, her nomination shows, what wonderful teachers we do have here in Warwick, and 900 of them. And the agenda items that I'm going to comment upon are the purchasing of more materials for GEMSNet, Wit and Wisdom, and so forth. Oh, also the financial portion. I'm glad to see that GEMSNet, Foundations, Wit and Wisdom supplies are on this agenda. I have heard from many teachers who were perplexed that they were being asked to implement, especially Wit and Wisdom, without starting the year with the proper number of supplies that they needed to do so. They also started the year without the appropriate professional development for Wit and Wisdom. And that also is another part of my comment, the fiscal part, because as you know, the district cut money for professional development this year. I know the district is relying on the 3 days that RIDE is allowing for distance learning while teachers receive professional development, but that does not make up for the number of hours that our elementary teachers have to put in order to complete their letters training. Every day I hear from at least a handful of elementary teachers who are totally overwhelmed. Let's review the programs that they have. GEMSNet, iReady, Wit and Wisdom, Foundations, Raz Kids, and a whole bunch of others. There's the responsive classroom. There are all sorts of other things that they have to do. And they do not have the time in their regular human day to do all of these things. They are being asked to complete homework on letters in their own time. And that this letters training really amounts to a graduate level course. The number of hours exceeds probably 200 when all is said and done. And even though the state has mercifully extended the deadline for teachers to receive this training, even that extended deadline does not provide a normal human being time in their day to to prepare lessons to teach, to stand in front of the kids for most of the day, because many of our elementary teachers do not have non-teaching time every day because they only get non-teaching time when one of the specials, one of the itinerant teachers, can enter the classroom or take the students to their class. And if one of those teachers is absent, then an elementary classroom teacher goes without non-teaching time entirely. And then they, of course, have to assess student work. Add that now to all of the PD they're attempting to do on their own for wit and wisdom, for letters, iReady, foundations, etc. And where is the time for their own families, or even to ingest comestibles in order to live or to sleep? It doesn't exist. So as you are reviewing the fiscal report, I want you to think about the deleterious effect that cutting professional development time has had, especially on our elementary classroom teachers. Other districts are doing things like providing substitutes for an entire day for teachers to work on letters, or providing stipends for the amount of time that these teachers are being asked to do on their own, on their weekends, and their family time, and nighttime, and time without sleep, and so on. It is not reasonable to tell people who already have very stressful, time-consuming jobs to then take whatever little time they might have left of their own and complete a graduate level course. And I'm not blaming this district. I blame the legislation, and I blame RIDE for concocting or interpreting the legislation to such an effect that in order to meet it, somebody has to spend a couple of 100 hours doing this work in order to be considered quote-unquote proficient. But each district now has to contend with yet another unfunded mandate, and I do understand the fiscal responsibilities the school committee has, but I also want you to understand the impossible situation that these elementary teachers are in, and we are appealing for some relief, and that relief has to come soon. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there any other people for public comment on agenda items? Okay, we'll move on then. Moving on to recommended actions. Can I get a motion for approval of minutes of public session, September 19th, 2022?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. September 28th, 2022?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Approval of warrants from October 11th, 2022?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Approval of transfers from October 11th, 2022?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. And next are announcements on personnel as presented. Mrs. Ruggieri.
Good evening, Madam Chair and members of the school committee. Tonight I have two retirements that will require a vote. We're bidding farewell to two of our WISE members, Pat Cronin, who's a teacher assistant in the kindergarten at Norwood. She's been with us for 34 years. And Linda Benson, who's the central registration clerk and in the administration offices. She's been with us for 19 years.
Motion to approve?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. I'd like to
Thank you.
thank them for their dedication to our district and their hard work.
Yes, I wish them best of luck in their retirement. I do have one resignation that requires a vote. David Dutra, custodian at Greenwood, effective September 28th.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. And the final vote for me tonight is for 3 unrestricted leave of absences for 3 of our teacher assistants. These leave of absences are for good reason. They have moved to the teaching side of our district. So we have Jen Carlson, the teacher assistant at Tollgate. She's now a teacher at Tollgate. Kristen Ways, teacher assistant at Welk, who is now a teacher at Welk. And Nicole Palermo, a teacher assistant she's now a teacher at Cedar Hill.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. I'd like to congratulate all of them for their persistence to become licensed teachers. I think it's excellent, and they're staying in our district, which is awesome, because they are great workers.
Yes, we're happy to have them. And finally, courtesy announcements. I have Helen Ramundo Aguiar as an elementary special educator at Holloman. Samantha Hemberg, BIT TA for the district. Are either of them here today? I do not see them.
I don't see any.
But we welcome them nonetheless. And we do have two members that I'd like to welcome that are here tonight. We have Teresa Tedeschi as the executive assistant to the superintendent and the school committee. Teresa, if you could give us a wave.
Wave.
Welcome. And finally, I'd like to welcome Danny Majacomo. He is our coordinator of safety and security for the district, so we welcome him as well. Thank you.
Welcome to the district, both of you. Okay, moving on, we have a donation. We have a $3,000 donation from Cox Communications that is to be given to Veterans Middle School. There is no distinction on what it can be used for, so we're very grateful for this, and I believe we have to vote to accept it. Do I have a motion to approve?
Move approval.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, next is the adoption of policies. Dr. Cecil?
Good evening, school committee, and Superintendent Danbrook. Tonight, we have 4 policies that we're bringing before you for first reads, and one is a second read. I'll explain that in a minute. The first one we're bringing forward is policy AC, Employee and Student Anti-Harassment. This is a brand-new policy. We have policies on bullying. We have policies on sexual harassment, but we did not have a policy on general harassment for anything else. And so at the request of Mr. Hennius and also his work, we put together a policy on employee and student anti-harassment. So it is generic so that it encompasses all types of harassment and follows through what the process is for reporting, appealing, etc. And so I'm requesting approval of this first read.
Move approval.
Second.
Any discussion?
No, Madam Chair, I just have one question.
Sure, Mr. Testa.
Dr. Cecil, after these presumably are approved tonight, these are online for people to read, right? After the first reading?
They're, as part of tonight's packet, they're in the electronic folder for tonight's packet, but they will not be put in the policy manual until the second read and they're approved.
Thank you.
All right.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Okay, next policy is JHB, which is accommodating students with seizure disorders or epilepsy. This is a policy that was mandated by the state. This is a boilerplate policy that was developed, and most districts are using this very same language. It just speaks to the process for districts to follow, or for Warwick to follow, in the event that we have a student with any type of epilepsy disorder. So I'm requesting approval of this first read.
Second.
Move approval. That didn't go on.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Next, we have a brand-new policy, JRAA, Student Data Privacy and Security. We had a number of community members expressed concern over the security of student data over the past several months. And so we did some research into what policies were, or if there were policies out there that dealt with and specifically addressed student data privacy and security. There are not very many districts, but there are some. And so after researching and looking at different policies across the United States, we put together this single policy that encompasses all aspects of student data privacy. It goes into how we select contracts with vendors that are going to have anything to do with student data. It talks about us following FERPA and all the regulations that go along with FERPA. It speaks to how we store data and our responsibilities for storing data. And then lastly, in the event that there's a breach, what our responsibilities are under those circumstances. And so, again, we're asking approval for this first read, and I'll entertain any questions you have.
Move approval.
Any discussion?
So my only question is for Dr. Taylor, because obviously this is going to be huge, and I mean, this is your field. So just like, is this something that we're able to, I mean, as soon as second read is done, it's immediately going to be able to be implemented, right? There's no, like.
Yes, and thank you definitely for that looking out as well. And so I did attend the policy committee meeting where this policy was discussed. And Dr. Cecil's work here is very nice because it really memorializes what we already do in practice into a policy. So these items about anytime somebody wants to use an app or a program that we work through the Rhode Island Student Privacy Consortium, of which we're a member, and they are the ones, and their lawyers are the ones that work to secure the data privacy agreements, the DPAs, that we're, that we require in order to use any of these programs. So we do that already, and this policy wraps that up nicely for us.
Perfect, thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Testa?
Thank you. Oh, thank you. Oh, there we go. Hold on. Much stuff. I think my question is directed more to Mr. Hennius. On page 2, point number 4, it says the district shall ensure that all agreements with third-party vendors shall include a provision prohibiting blah, blah, blah. And it says pursuant to Rhode Island general law with the Children's Online Privacy Rule, or COPPA. And then 5 says pursuant to COPPA, the district shall act in lieu of parents in providing consent for students under the age of 13 to use online services, et cetera, et cetera. So is it the law that requires us to do that?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, that's all I had.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, and I should mention that Mr. Hennius and his staff always review these before we bring them forward. So they update all the legal references and make sure that the language is language that we can use.
Right, and I only brought it up because when some people read the district shall act in lieu of parents, it makes some people bristle, and the legislation requires that we do that, so.
Right.
Thank you.
Okay, last policy we're bringing forward is an existing policy, JFCM, and this is the one that we're calling a first, second read, because we're adding one word. But it was a good thing to bring this policy forward because it has to do with cell phones. And the committee reviewed this policy in total and agreed that nothing needed to change, that what we have here around the use of cell phones in schools should stand as written, but this should serve as a reminder for all school personnel to read this and follow this, because we were finding that different schools were making different rules, so to say, within their buildings. and we want to make everybody aware of this policy so that all schools are following this unilaterally. So it became a good opportunity to change one word, bring it forward, and be able to explain that publicly. So asking your approval,
Move approval?
first and second read.
Second.
Discussion?
Madam Chair, yes. Dr. Cecil, thank you. And just for the public's edification, the only change is the cell phones need to be turned off.
Well, we said powered.
Powered off, right.
Powered
Because we have to be
slash
that
turned
specific.
off, because
And I
that's the
say
new
that as
language.
someone who pushed really hard for this policy. I can't tell you the number of teachers that I had heard over the years that I've been on this committee that rail against cell phones. They're a tremendous distraction, and no one will convince me otherwise. We're a one-to-one district with Chromebooks. There's no need for a student to have a phone accessible and on during the school day. They can turn it on as soon as the bell rings and have at it. But it's still a gigantic distraction. I'm a parent of 3 kids, one of whom would be a gigantic distraction for, and was when she was in school when we developed this policy. I thoroughly support this policy. The teacher is the first line of defense here, and making anything that's ambivalent to them isn't fair to them. So the policy should be very clear and concise, which I think it is. So it's off. Short of not allowing phones in the school building, I think this is probably the best thing we can come up with. I'm all for this, so thank you.
I would just like to add to what everyone's already spoken about. We really need to see administrators of all the schools and the teachers all follow this together, because we start having problems when one teacher allows it and one teacher doesn't allow it. One principal allows it, one principal doesn't allow it. So we really need to just be distributed and read uniformly. We need to follow many of these policies uniformly across the district, so we don't have these problems, and we don't hear from the community, well, why does my kid have to put their cell phone away and they don't have to do it in this school? We hear it on a lot of issues, but this was one that we really need everybody to agree to follow, because it causes too many problems. Massachusetts has gone, many of the districts, and I'm on the policy committee, and I was kind of interested in looking into this, which I did, about taking the cell phones and putting them in containers while they're in the classroom. And I know that we'd have a lot of backlash from the parents in the community. However, the kids are in school to learn, not to play on their phones. And as Mr. Testa put out, they have Chromebooks in front of them. They don't need their phones while they're in the classroom learning. So I would just really express my plea to all the administrators and teachers to follow this uniformly. Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Did you want to speak?
Yeah.
Oh, Mr. Cornell?
Yeah, just briefly, yeah, so I'm completely in support of this. I remember as a student, like, finding it very irritating, like, in group projects when people I was working with was constantly on their phones. Like, it's an absolute distraction. Mr. Testa's completely right, and, like, we need to have a strong uniform policy, so I'm glad that this is being brought before us tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Cecil.
Thank you.
Okay, moving along to new business. Item number 1, discussion and update. Status of free reduced lunch applications in partnership with West Bay Community Action. Ms. Machado?
Good evening. The Food Service Department has a few updates for the community. As always, we would like to encourage families to apply to the school meal program. We've received 2,446 applications and are just 35% free and reduced. A higher free and reduced rate can increase education funding and extra services for our students. All information can be found on our school meals page on the district site. Also, as you may know, the wholesale food distribution company Cisco is currently on strike. This directly affects our school meal program, as Cisco is a contracted vendor for Aramark. Due to the strike, menu choices and offerings will be limited, and last-minute menu changes may occur based on when Cisco deliveries arrive. Aramark does have local vendors for basic necessities until the strike is over. Bread and milk are coming as usual, as well as our produce. We ask that the community be patient with us during this time. At this time, I'd like to introduce Paul Solera, President and CEO of West Bay Community Action. Mr. Solera is here tonight to highlight the many programs that West Bay Community Action has to offer the Warwick community. But before he speaks to those programs, I'd like to remind the community of the partnership that we've had since 2019. The Meal Assistance Program, also known as MAPS, was created in an effort to support families that have balances remaining on student meal accounts and also for families that require assistance due to hardships. The funding is provided with contributions mostly received in 2019 for the food service balance. So how it works is families must apply to the Warwick Public Schools school meal program and receive a status letter in order to contact West Bay Community Action to apply for MAPS. The MAPS program supports in 2 ways. The first, paying off the remaining balance on student accounts. So regardless of status, a balance will still remain on the student's account for meals charged prior to the newly assigned status. The second is a grant that provides students 1 daily order of breakfast and 1 daily order of lunch per school day for the remainder of the school year. Any a la carte or additional milk are not included in the MAPS grant, and students must pay in cash for those additional items. The MAPS grant is provided to families with hardships. For example, a family that received a reduced or paid status but still requires that additional support. Important things to note: families awarded the MAPS grant are not authorized to withdraw funds from the student meal accounts. Any funds remaining in the student meal accounts at the end of each year will be returned to MAPS at West Bay Community Action so we can continue using those funds for the next year. All transactions are processed through West Bay Community Action and the Food Service Department for proper recording. Contact information for West Bay Community Action can be found on the school meals page or by visiting the West Bay Community Action website. We encourage families to take advantage of MAPS while funds are available. The process is simple and confidential. Now I'll turn it over to Mr. Solera so he can discuss the many programs West Bay Community Action has to offer our community.
Thank you very much. Thank you, members of the school committee and the Warwick School Department, for having me. First, I want to just mention how great of a partnership this is. It was an opportunity for my agency to partner with the schools to provide a service. This service is free. We don't charge anything to do this. It's accessibility. It allows the students' families to come see us to get a service on top of us providing other services. We're one of the largest nonprofit social service agencies in Kent County. We serve over 20,000 unduplicated residents per year. About 75% of those are from Warwick. We offer over 40 programs, everything from our heating assistance program. I'm sure people heard about the water assistance, which, working with the city, we actually were the first town or city in the state of Rhode Island to offer it back in 2020. We have one of the largest food pantries in the state. We serve about 150 families per day. No questions asked. It's a food of choice. We have both perishable and non-perishable fresh produce from our farm. We have a farm on Centerville Road where we grow fresh produce, over 24,000 pounds. We have a plethora of case management services, WIC, adult education. We have a child care program located on Astral Street. So for us, all of our services are here for all the families in Warwick, and we're just so appreciative. As well as when the referrals come to us, not only are we providing them with a nutritious meal during the day that they can afford at the schools, but we're affording them many of the opportunities in our programs. Right now, many of our programs are just getting going with the heating assistance program. Who knows what the winter months have to come, but also the holidays. A lot of our families struggle between paying rent, paying electric, or putting gifts or food on the table during holidays. So we're partnering with Blue Cross Blue Shield. We're going to be giving out turkeys and all the fixings. Yearly, we do about 400 Thanksgiving baskets. We're going to be doing holiday baskets for Christmas, as well as the Adopt a Family program. So if there are families in Warwick that are in need during the holidays, please reach out. There's no questions asked. Most of our programs are income eligible. On average, a family of four can earn just under $70,000 and be eligible for many of our programs. If they are over income, not to worry. We also have other programs that can assist for those that earn up to 300 to 350% of federal poverty. And thank you so much.
Mr. Testa?
Thank you. A couple of things. Ms. Machado, you said as of today we had 2,446, about 35% free and reduced lunch. Is that I think that's slightly below our average, isn't it? Aren't we?
Yes, so before the pandemic, we were about 43%. So we are higher compared to prior to the pandemic at this time. So if we looked back at October, we are higher. We just need to continue getting closer. I would love to see us over 50%, and I feel like we can get there. We have, not only this program that helps, but we have a lot of a lot of information on our site that is very confidential. It's very easy to apply online. It only comes to, there's only 2 of us in the district per RIDE guidelines that know anyone's status, anyone's situation. Obviously, when we're offering our families that additional support to go to West Bay, it's the same experience. So I hope that stigma doesn't still live. Because we are working, those of us that are very sensitive to it, we are working really hard to make it confidential and make people feel comfortable about having to ask for those additional services.
Yeah, because one of the issues prior to it being done electronically was you had to fill out a paper form.
Correct, and we do
so-
still have those available, and
Right.
you can mail them directly to us as well, or drop them off. But the online has been fantastic.
Yeah, and again, I don't know how else to say. I mean, there's no shame here. I mean, things change. That's the only constant in life, that things will change, and sometimes they change not for the better. So it's there, and as long as we keep letting people know that it's there and how easy it is to apply. With respect to the family help, adopt a family, do the schools participate in that? And by that I mean, do they reach out to CCAP to, like they might have families in their schools, right? So
I believe they have.
do they do it that way?
Yes, the schools are phenomenal in regards to
Okay.
referrals, but also for food donations. When a lot of the schools do food drives, all the food that comes to us goes right back at no cost to the residents that are in need. Same thing with the adoptive families. We actually just partnered with the Warwick schools to be their non-profit fiduciary, so to speak, so they can have a food pantry at one of the schools because of the 501c3 status and all that. So for us, it's a great partnership that I wish other cities and towns saw, because in the end, we're helping the families and the kids.
Right, and you can't get more grassroots local community than that, right? So, thank you.
Thank you.
I want to thank you very much for coming here and speaking to all of us, and for all that your organization does. I hear from a lot of people in the community how much you have helped them in unfortunate situations. As Mr. Testa said, things change, and people need help. So I want to thank you for everything that you do, and I think this is a fantastic partnership, and I think both organizations will benefit
Thank you,
from
Madam Chair.
helping. It's all about helping these families, so thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Paul. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Okay. Next item, discussion update on elementary report cards. Mrs. Cousino?
Good evening, Madam Chair, members of the school committee, Superintendent Danbrook, and others. I'm here tonight on behalf of Dr. Schultz as well to comment on the K through 5 report card and to give everyone an update. This year, due to the Wit and Wisdom curriculum that we have heard so much about already, that is a very heavy lift. We had not gotten a new curriculum since about 2007, we think, when we had the Journeys series. So it is a heavy lift. It is much different than the way we are used to teaching, and it's going to take time. And while we recognize that, we have set up some coaching series is coming down the pike very, very soon, meeting with principals tomorrow to get that up and running as well. And one of the other things we decided to do was we decided to go ahead and update the report card, and we have now taken out all of the gray boxes. The gray boxes were originally put there for a section of the report card that may or may not have been taught through that trimester. So we thought by taking the gray boxes out, some teachers move at a different pace than other teachers, so they can just put an N there if they have not gotten to that content strand. I can read exactly what we messaged to the teachers. This year, we removed all the boxes that were grayed out on the report cards. If you did not teach a concept, then you simply put the N in the box. instead of a grade. We are hoping that this little change on the report cards will make Wit and Wisdom implementation a little bit smoother. As we learn more about the program, we may put the gray boxes in once again at a later date. Just for now, we will keep the boxes open because teachers will likely have different pacings as we learn this program this year. So that was messaged out to all of the teachers, elementary, K through 5, so that as we come upon mid-semester and we move to the end of the first trimester around the beginning of December, they'll have a clear picture of what they can put an N in anywhere, anything that they have not gotten to. I'll be happy to answer any other questions.
Mr. Testa?
How'd you know? Thank you, Ms. Guzzo. Just a question. So if I'm a parent and my fourth grader's report card comes home, does it look different to me than the third grade report card? And if it does someone explain to me what I'm looking at?
Sure. So the report cards are standard-based report cards in 3 trimesters for elementary, which is very different than secondary. Right now, the 4-3-2-1 rubric is on each report card, where really a 2 is approaching the standard. A 2 is sort of you're on pace, you're kind of where you need to be for now. A 3 would be a little bit more independent. A 1 would be needing a lot more direction. And a 4 is you've already exceeded grade level expectation and you're ready to work on sort of something higher level.
Okay.
The N would be not at this time. The N would just be in a content strand, such as math, and if one of them was fractions, it might have an N, because we didn't get to fractions yet.
Got it. And so would there be a situation where there would be a row of boxes just blank?
Nothing
There
really
shouldn't be,
should
right?
be blank.
Okay, all right.
Nothing in the, first trimester, obviously 2, 3, and 4, later trimesters we haven't gotten to. But for the first trimester, everything should have either a number or an N. And I might also stress that the effort grades, there are 2 or 3 effort grades on the report card. I know there's one in math, there's one in learner characteristics, which is kind of like follows directions, listens attentively. Those would be an S or an N for sometimes, or not at this time, things like that. So those also get letter grades, but it has nothing to do with the new N system.
Okay, and there's a glossary too, right? So
There
parents
is,
know what
there's
it
an
means.
index. I don't know that this N, because they were, it might already be updated. We're hoping to have that done by December.
Great, thank you.
Anyone else? Okay, moving on to our discussion and update, FY 2023 monthly financial report and year-end review. The requisitions approved between $500 and $4,999. Mr. McGrath.
Good evening, Madam Chair, members of the school committee. Before you, you'll find my monthly fiscal report. If you have any questions, I'd be glad to answer them.
Mr. Testa.
I don't really have a question. I have more of a comment. It's too early in the fiscal year to really even start to identify trends yet.
Yeah, not yet, because we're still, those numbers are through the end of September. So we're letting all the payrolls kind of settle in, make sure all the teachers are locked in their different positions.
Yeah.
Then I'll be doing a fiscal projection, payroll projection, and then rolling those numbers out.
And the lunch fund balance, I don't remember seeing that. Is that something new you've added to this?
Yep, that's something new we added. I just wanted to keep everyone aware of it. It's growing. It's kind of a concern that Ms. Machado and I had, so we wanted to kind of present it so you would be aware of it. I think it's
So
something
this
good.
is not a positive. This is a negative. This is what.
That's a receivable, so that's
a receivable,
the
right.
members
So,
of the school committee.
yeah. The very notion that you can afford to pay for lunch and choose not to is something I'll never understand, and it happens every day. It's not fair to the community. It's not fair to the district. It's not fair to anyone. I wasn't raised that way, but evidently other people were. So, I said it. Thank you.
Could you just read out loud what the amount is at this time so people can hear it?
So I can give you his
Yes.
amount, unfortunately, was from last week. I can give you today's amount.
Please do.
Sorry?
Please do.
Okay, 17,872. So before lunch today, it was 17,076. So I have the breakdown that I'd like to share if you don't mind.
Please do.
So we have 890 students with balances. 773 currently have a paid status, and that balance out of the paid status students are $15,606.14. 59 of those students have reduced status, which is $646.60. 58 currently have a free status, which is $800.23 and $823.60. So the MAPS program could eliminate this if our families took advantage. The only thing we cannot do is do it for them. They have to do that part. We offer information with each of the status notifications, either by email or by mail, so they receive the flyer. We've called families. So there is a possibility for them to get their balances down with no questions asked. We just need them to go to West Bay, call West Bay, tell them you have a balance. They need our status letter, which we give to them, and they can eliminate that balance.
Thank you very much.
Ms. Machado, is the lion's share of that balance from families that are not on any type of free and reduced,
Yes.
right? So those are the families that, at least by not applying for free and reduced, are saying we can afford to pay for lunch,
Correct.
right? So as Glenn Ordway would say, you're making my point. So that's ridiculous. It's 15.6. It's growing at about $1,000 a week.
Yes, we are doing
Yes.
that well.
Right.
Yeah.
And we're a month into school.
It's
And
about, $1,000 a day.
so,
This is my
So-
point, that when I first got on the school committee, at one point, I think we had a balance of $75,000, somewhere around there, and Mr. Ferrucci was here, and he had a stack about this from the table of all the invoices that had to get sent out. And we can't do this. We can't afford to do this. As Mr. Testa said, I mean, we're only into it, we started October, and we're already over $17,000, so people need to be aware that they have to pay for their bill. If they haven't applied for free and reduced lunch, they need to do so if they can't afford it.
And also to clarify on the MAPS program, so if a family is paid and they have the status that they're paid with us, the whole point of the MAPS grant is to provide that one breakfast and one lunch a day for that child, or the siblings as well, for the rest of the school year. So there is support, again, without question,
Right.
for families that,
Right.
just have hardships in other ways. So there is support.
right. And our policy is not to deny anyone.
takes
No,
the
we do not
community to
deny
do this.
anyone. The only
We
thing that
can't make
students can't
magic happen.
purchase is the à la carte, without money on their account or cash. Those are like chips, cookies, but a full meal with the 5 components, we do not deny any child.
Right. Yeah. And that was, Mr. Ferrucci came up with that idea with CCAP, and it was a really, really good idea. I'm proud that the district put something together like that. So thank you for, Mr. Solera left, but thank you.
It's gonna take a village with this. We definitely can't get another bill at $75,000. That's painful. Thank you very much for the update. Okay, next is discussion action for the executive assistant to the superintendent, the contract.
Yes, Madam Chair, members of the school committee, I respectfully request that you approve the contract for the executive assistant to the superintendent as presented in executive session.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay, next item is discussion action. Warwick Powell requests utilize 51 and 150 Draper Avenue fields. Mr. McCaffrey?
Madam Chair, members of the Warwick Police Department are here this evening from PAL. Warwick PAL has been in the city since 1971. They've been using our fields to support youth activities. In fact, when I was younger, in the 70s, there was a football team known as the Green Team that utilized the Gorton Field for football. This is something that the PAL organization has been doing for many, many years. It supports our students, supports the youth of Warwick. It's something we should be doing for our community. If you have any questions, Officer Brown is here from the Warwick Police Department to discuss the different activities that he'd like to run on our fields.
Any discussion?
Yeah, I was going to move it and second it. And we can
Okay.
discuss it. I'll move approval.
Second.
Madam Chair, for me. So my only question is, were they not there before? Why is it before us?
They would have access to the fields, they would maintain the football field and things of that nature and do improvements. They have the ability, because they're a nonprofit organization, to have outside donors to donate to their organization to help make improvements to the facilities. So I think it's a win for the school department, it's a win for PAL, and it's a win for the youth of Warwick.
Yeah, so it's essentially just an agreement that they utilize those fields?
Yes.
And, okay. Yeah, that's fine. I was just wondering, I don't know where they played, not from here. I get to play PAL when I was young, so it's fine. Thank you.
Mr. Testa is just going to require a small written agreement, so we wanted to bring it to the committee's attention.
Okay, got it. Thank you, Mr. Daniels.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Thank you very much. I think this is a great program.
Hey, thank you.
Okay, next, discussion action, contract award, maintenance, vets, middle compressor replacements. Mr. Oliver, I'm not going to read all your numbers.
Good evening. I'm here requesting your approval of this contract for the compressor replacement at Vets Middle School. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Move approval.
Second.
All in favor?
No, I have a question.
Oh, discussion.
Thank you. Mr. Oliver, earlier in the year, we replaced a few more, so I just have a question. And I asked this question because my company's building went through something similar. So the system, when we put it in here, wasn't designed for a MERV 13 filter, correct?
That's correct.
And we ran MERV 13s.
Correct.
During the height of the pandemic, right?
Correct.
So my understanding is if you take a system not designed for that and you try to run MERV 13, it just taxes the compressors even more.
It could,
Because
correct.
it's trying to push that same amount of air through a more restrictive filter. So I'm not sure if that's the explanation. I just want to make sure that your department and the school department is just making sure that this isn't a vendor issue. Because, you know, the system's, I think, 5 years old, so, or 6 years old. So if it's a manufacturer, I shouldn't say vendor. If it's a manufacturer issue, we should explore all possibilities, that's all.
Right, we're in the process of exploring manufacturer defects.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
What is, do we have any warranty or guarantee or anything?
At this point, we are in discussion with the manufacturer for warranty.
There's no way we should be paying for this.
I understand. I agree.
No. And I won't vote for it. And I hope no one else will either.
I just want to caution you on that this is a strategic part of the system that makes the heat run in the building, so it's a necessity, it's not.
No, it absolutely is, and it's
Yeah.
necessity for
Yeah.
that company to replace them.
Right, I
Because their system failed and it's not even used every single day.
Mr. Gothberg and myself are in communication with each other, trying to rectify the issue. At this point, we are doing everything in our power to put it back on the manufacturer.
Because you have 4 compressors out.
Correct.
That's ridiculous for any brand-new system. Now, and I'm not faulting you. You've got.
No, I understand.
You know,
I understand.
I mean, I just think that is shoddy.
Yep.
That is really shoddy.
I agree.
We spent millions.
Well, it's only a few years old.
Say that again, ma'am?
It's only a few years old.
They were put in 2016. 17, they were finished in 2017.
Yep.
Yeah, and then this is a bill to D. Larson and Son for the work they're going to do, right? We're paying D. Larson, we're not. So, yeah. So I have no problem paying it because because we have to do it,
Right.
right? So
Correct.
we're not going to cut our nose to spite our face. Okay, thank you.
Can I get a motion to approve? Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Thank you.
Okay, next, discussion action, contract award for the Warwick Area Career and Tech Center, Apple iPads, iMacs, and pencils. Mr. Kane.
Good evening, Madam Chair, members of the school committee. What we're looking to do with this, it's a fully funded through Perkins grant. We're trying to take Studio 107 and do part of the lab each year. So they earlier received a Champlin's grant. I applied for Perkins funding for 8 new Apple iMac computers, a couple of different iPads, as well as the pencils that go along with the iPads. So like I said, it's just to keep everything state-of-the-art in there and do it incrementally rather than all at once.
Move approval?
Second, as I hold my Studio 107 pen.
Aye.
And you're, up again,
Sure, the next purchase is, it's actually going to be a competition that we're getting involved with at the Career Center through our CAD program. It's for Green Power USA. It's an F-24 Goblin kit cars. It's an alternate energy type project where our students will be competing against other centers in the state as well as nationally if they make it that far. So this is the purchase price for that. Once again, it fits into the curriculum. It's supported by the industry-based standards, and it's at no cost to the district.
Move approval?
Second, I have one question for Mr. Kane. Mr. Kane, I know this is for the CAD program, but does the electrical program do anything at all in relation to this?
Right, so they work, I have to, unfortunately, I have to put everything under one budget code for Perkins. So the next purchase, as well, a lot of my programs work together. So it's a CAD purchase, but electrical will have their part, automotive will have their part, electronics will have their part, but it fits mostly into that program.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you very much, Mr. Kane. Oh,
Okay, the
you're
next
up again.
purchase, there's 4 tonight. Next purchase also is at no cost to the district. It's being done through the Perkins grant. It's for the graphics design program. It's a Highland Breeze embroidery machine from Coldesi, which is sole source. Currently, right now, graphics design does everything from posters to computer-based advertisements to she's working with T-shirts. This will just further the program and make it state-of-the-art. Once again, it's all based upon the industry-based standards, and that's the direction the field is going. So we want to keep the students with the best skills they could have.
Move approval?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And Mr. Kane?
And then the last
Electronics curriculum.
purchase is Robotics Foundations Lab. The electronics program and CAD specifically, it falls under a CAD purchase, but electronics and CAD will be working jointly to get some of the students some exposure to robotics, to build off some of what Tollgate is doing and maybe eventually branch off to a whole new program at some point.
Move approval?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, thank you.
Excellent, thank you, Mr. Kane. Next is discussion action on contract award special services, crisis intervention, CPI workbooks.
Madam Chair, I'll take that.
You're going to handle that?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Madam Chair, members of the school committee, I request that you approve the purchase of the crisis intervention workbooks. These are workbooks that Ms. Evans used to train our teacher assistants in CPI training.
Move approval?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Next, item number 12, discussion action, contract award curriculum, grade 3 to 5 recorders. Dr. Cecil.
Yes, good evening. Excuse me, I am taking the next 4 items on behalf of Dr. Schultz. The first item is the grades 3 through 5 recorders. Due to COVID, those two grade levels, grades 4 and 5, never got the opportunity to play recorder, and we play recorder in 3rd grade. So Dr. Schultz felt it important to purchase for all 3 grade levels this year to give the opportunity to grades 4 and 5 to finally have the chance to learn and play recorder. So we're requesting approval on that purchase.
Move approval.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. We need the kids playing hot cross buns.
That's right, and earning their belts. The next item is the GEMSNet grades K to 5 science materials. As Ms. Netco pointed out during her initial comments, these are filler materials for the kits so that the teachers have what they need to do the units of study for GEMSNet. Requesting approval.
Move approval.
Second, I have a question. Thank you. Dr. Slater, back in July, we approved a $210,000 purchase for GEMSNet. Was this just stuff that came up later?
Yes, what happens is there are items in the kits that need to be replenished, and as much as we think we know what we have, and then we have new teachers, and kits get transferred from one grade level to another, and things have a way of not showing up where they need to be. So this is to replenish those items that are consumables that
Thank
need
you.
to be replenished.
Thank you very much.
Aye.
Thank you. The next is Foundations teacher materials. These are the teacher guides, I believe it is, for the teachers who attended the Foundations training this summer, which was paid for through a grant, a Title IV-A grant. So these are for the manuals, so the teachers can begin or can teach Foundations, and requesting approval.
Move approval.
Second.
I have one question.
Yes.
I shut my computer down because I had all dark, but I didn't have, what's the total on this? Is it there?
Total on this is $20,320.20. It's coming out of ESSER 2.
Okay, that was my question. I mean, this is funded out of ESSER 2. Were the other expenditures for?
All of Foundations so far has been grant funded one way or another.
Okay.
Whether it's ESSER, whether it's Title IV-A special grant, Title IV-A period, Title II for teacher stipends. We've used all grants to fund Foundations.
That's fine. I'm just, because is this something we would probably have to replenish next year, right? Or no?
No, these are one-time
Oh,
purchases.
so it's, okay, all right. There, you
And we
answered my question.
added a grade level, 2nd grade this year, which we had not had before. We had teachers that had changed grade levels, and we added special education. So that's why the purchase is so much this year, because we had all those variables in there.
Yeah, and that's fine. That was the purpose behind ESSER, is to do those essential one-time expenditures, because you don't want
Right.
to commit ESSER funds to
Right.
recur. Thank you very much.
And then, last but not least, oh,
Aye.
thank you. And last but not least is the Wit and Wisdom supplies. Again, you have a count at the end of last year when the initial purchase was made. Then beginning of the year happens, we've had changes, we've added classrooms, changed classrooms, et cetera, et cetera. So this was the accurate count, added, purchasing the additional materials that were needed for the appropriate grade levels. And so again, and this was all also paid for out of ESSER 3. For all of the Wit and Wisdom has been grant funded. Requesting approval.
Move approval.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much,
Thank you
Dr.
very
Cecil.
much.
Okay, the next item is discussion action bid award NISS hot food serving counter tables. Ms. Machado.
Good evening. I'm looking for approval to award Douglas Equipment the bid award for the hot food serving counter table for Park and Robertson Elementary Schools. This equipment is funded through the awarded USDA equipment grant for school food authorities.
Move approval.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much. And discussion action, contract award, technology network equipment. Dr. Taylor, how are you?
Good, how are you? Thank you, Madam Chair, and members of the committee. This evening before you, we have a request for the approval to purchase some network equipment. As you know, we've been rolling out a phased approach to making sure our networks in all of our school buildings are always functioning. And this is a budgeted expense and E-rate reimbursable at the 60% reimbursement rate. So it's a great opportunity to move forward with network switches to improve the networks.
Move approval.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And you have the next one, too. Discussion action on the contract award for technology Apple iPads.
Thank you, Madam Chair. This item that we have before you is the product of a grant that Dr. Cecil and I collaborated on called the ECF grant that sought this past year to provide technology for students for their devices. It's the grant that we found over the last month that we did get approved for, and that's reimbursing the technology that we purchased with the Chromebooks. This item was our thinking that at the same time with this grant funding, we could replace the iPads throughout the district, which help all of the students with the assistive technology throughout all of our schools and make sure that they have also the latest and greatest technology. This is an exact dollar for dollar, a no cost to the district, completely grant funded for 200 iPads to start replacing all of those assistive technology devices for our special education students. So we'd ask for your approval.
Move approval.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Taylor. Okay, moving along to public comment. This public comment is for non-agenda items. You have 2 minutes. I would just like to remind people that this isn't a conversation. We can't talk back and forth per law, so you can state what you would like to state. Unfortunately, we cannot talk and have a conversation about things. If you'd like, you can always contact one of us afterwards, and we can have a conversation. So.
Thank you. I have,
Could you please state your name?
my name's James Laguena. I've been a Warwick resident all my life. I have grandchildren in the school system. I would like to know where are the money from these grants coming from? Is it coming from us? Is it my tax dollars that this is coming from? I don't hear any prices. You know, I come to these meetings every month. And usually you guys are always in executive session. Wind up sitting here for 2 hours, and we can never say anything. This is the first time I've been able to come up here. I would like to know where is this money coming from? It's not coming from us. And I heard something about children not getting fed. How the heck can that happen? No, really. We pay taxes. Where do our tax dollars go? No answers? Then what are these committee meetings for? If we can't say anything and you guys can't answer us.
Attorney Hennius, would you please explain this to him?
You know,
by law, they're not allowed to respond.
You go into executive session. We don't have any paperwork that says what he is in here for, so we don't even know. You know, you want parents, you want people to be involved. But if we are involved, then you can't answer us. That's not right. You know, and it's been that way forever. When I was in school, you guys didn't listen to me either. I don't understand it. You guys are supposed to be the educated people. Why don't you just listen to us? Have a nice evening.
Good evening. My name is Nicole Bertrand, and I'm a teacher at Welk. And I just wanted to give you an update of the bus situation. Students are arriving to school a half hour late. That's not really concerning. What's really concerning is that preschool students are waiting 30 to 35 minutes after the school day has already ended to go home. Last year, you guys increased our school day. So now, on top of the students being in school longer, you have preschool special education students waiting 30 to 35 minutes. I think all of you should come to the school and see how sad this is. They're very upset, they're very tired. A typically developing 3- and 4-year-old couldn't wait this long. Is there a way that we could look at the roots? Can we do something? Can our school get priority? It's really unfair that these kids are sitting in a lobby waiting to leave, and they don't understand why the bus is not coming. I think 35 minutes, I think we can do better. 35 minutes is way too long. It's very stressful for students and staff. Thank you.
Good evening, school committee. Superintendent Danbrook, Assistant Superintendent McCaffrey, and functional leaders of our school administration. My name is Sean Galligan. I reside at 14 Pilgrim Drive. I have 3 boys, 2 of which are actively enrolled within Warwick Public Schools right now. I'm also going to speak on the topic of transportation. Most certainly, I could sit back, be angry, throw my hands up, post online on Facebook, and but I think coming here before you this evening, standing at this podium, bringing this to your attention shows that I want to be a part of the solution as much as I want to point out the problems. So the first thing I'll say is, from a taxpayer perspective, it's embarrassing to be featured on the news year after year for transportation. I understand this year we tried to do something a little different. And as Mr. Testis pointed out, and our chairwoman mentioned, sometimes things change for the good, and sometimes they change for the worse. I respected that after, school starts up, usually a month, you're still trying to work out the kinks. Okay, I gave a week, I gave 2 weeks. It's a little nuts. Making it into the news this about a week or 2 ago, I was fully expecting, just using common sense, to see transportation as an agenda item. I would have expected to see transportation on this, on this agenda tonight, just because I look at what the school committee charter reads, and it says that you're supposed to be looking out for the children, and you're supposed to be looking out for the families. You're supposed to be looking out for the taxpayers. Okay, well, as a taxpayer, I'm disappointed to see us making the news again. And I know our issues are not just isolated to our community. I recognize that. I know other cities are dealing with other problems, and they make the news. I'm just happy we're not in North Kingston right now, okay? But, but what I'm not seeing is we're seeing parents speak about putting their kids into private schooling because walking distances are too long, okay? Families, the mother on the news talking about how she's not able to get her child to school because she has 2 other kids going to other schools at that same time. So one child has to leave their home at 5:45, an older adolescent. We're making it difficult for these kids to get to school, and they're at an age where they could say, you know what, I'm not going to go. So now people are sending me emails, and this one was of grave concern, and based on just the choice of wording, and rather than posting the whole email online and exposing some many concerns within the email, I wanted to bring it forward to your attention. We said our responsibility for riders, being the kids, is from the school to the is from the stop to the school and the school to the stop. Okay, maybe in theory that is correct. However, morally, right, from a district which suffered a fatality close by to one of our schools on a very busy road, a student of ours at Pilgrim High School, just about 10 years ago or so, you would think that we would be looking at the whole picture, right, the whole picture. So these individuals are representing the Warwick School Department and sending such messages to residents with that verbiage. It's very concerning. Very concerning. And again, parents are sending their kids out of district to private schools, paying significant money because we can't figure out our transportation woes. I get a litany of texts in the morning and in the afternoon telling me about all the different bus changes. I travel frequently for work. We send out more bus route changes than Southwest sends to me for flight changes when I travel for work. That was supposed to be a bit of comedic humor, Miss Danbrook. I thought you would appreciate that. Okay. Trying to lighten it up a little bit. But what we need to do is we need to leverage our experts, okay, i.e. the contractor, the bus drivers. Can we double up on routes? I heard we're not doubling up on routes. Why wouldn't we double up on routes if we can provide the same level of service at no additional cost? I've heard, after doing some research, that we were advised as a district for years, this body as a district for years advised, do not change anything. Your ridership is pretty consistent with the exception of COVID, and I understand what you did because of that, because parents were apprehensive. But then when we come out of COVID, we're advised again, do not make any changes. We make the changes. Now families are suffering. It's severely impacting the quality of life in households and quality of public school experience for many people out there. I ask that you please look into this matter immediately, okay? This is a necessity. It's part of our school system, public school transportation, okay? Please look into this immediately, respectfully. Thank you.
I do recall I pointed out about the bus situation. It's time to sue First Student, because we contracted, we have a certain, amount of need that they can't provide. I mean, but look what's going on in Providence with, there is no bus company large enough to service Providence, so they have to use RIPTA. And now look what's happening with RIPTA and those kids having no way to school. Our kids are like one step away from that situation, and there needs to be some accountability to these companies. But I mean, there needs to be some competition too with these bus companies. There needs to be something that makes them perform properly. And there have been a number of bus studies done. I've been coming to these meetings for 33 years now. So if you want some institutional memory, you can talk to me. But there have been a number of studies done, and there wasn't anything about don't change anything. There were, within the last 10 years, I think, 2 different studies about what to do. I mean, I follow buses to school that are almost empty, but we still have to provide that service. So, and Warwick is a large city. Now with the consolidation of secondary schools, and you have, we talked about this when this consolidation was happening, the issue of busing kids who live by Pilgrim all the way over to Vets and vice versa and so on. I know you guys can't respond to anything that comes up in public comment, but regarding grants, various institutions grant money to groups that apply. Groups or individuals that apply. Champlin Foundation is one that comes to mind. RIDE has certain grants. Ultimately, from RIDE, they get their money from the state, so ultimately tax dollars have gone to the state to go to RIDE. But with Champlin Foundation and other granting institutions, many of that money is through donations. And I think our district should be applauded for looking for grants and not using local funds for things that can be funded through grants. I recall with a previous administration, Mutual Link, a couple hundreds of thousands of dollars. And at the meeting, it was at Windman Junior High, one of the members of the school committee said to the superintendent at the time, "Why didn't you look for a grant? I just sat here and Googled and I found a couple of grants you could have applied for." So I think one thing our administration is doing properly is applying for grants and getting grants to pay for these things that we need. Now, maybe some PD grants need to be in there. I know you've got the coaching for Wit and Wisdom, but that's still not enough. As far as kids going hungry, kids are not going hungry. They're getting their meals. But the problem is no one's paying for them. That's why the district is racking up all of this money. That's why if someone cannot afford to pay for a meal, then that person needs to do what was already spoken about earlier this meeting and apply for the free or reduced lunch, apply for the MAPS program, and so on and so forth. People who have the money should not be stiffing the district on bills. If you have the money, pay your bills. If you don't have the money, there's no shame in that, and we don't want anyone to go hungry. Apply for those programs that will give you the means of having the meals. And it was great that the federal government provided the breakfast and lunch for the last couple of years, but that money's gone, so now it's back to the district. And then finally, one other comment about the needs of the elementary level. I'm hearing a great deal from grade 2 co-taught teachers who are greatly missing their TAs. I know a number of people spoke about the folly of cutting the TAs from the second grade co-taughts. Well, we are seeing the effects of those cuts, and they're not good. We have students with severe special needs who need to have another person in the room to be able to care for them. And then to not take attention away from the other kids who also need their instruction. There were also some poor decisions regarding special ed staffing throughout the district, but especially at the elementary level, and especially regarding resource positions being cut in half and being combined and so on and so forth. So going forward, and as you look forward to next year, or maybe even this year, there's going to maybe on a case-by-case basis the need for these grade 2 co-taught teachers, TAs, to be restored to these classes. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Geraldine Sosha. I'm actually the union rep at First Student, which I can assure you this is not a First Student issue, because regardless of what company you came in, you're gonna have the same bus drivers with the same issues because of the Department of Transportation. I know this because I'm in that office every day battling their lack of care and concern of the safety of the kids that we protect every single day on the road. The fact that they're now telling us no communication with any parents, which the only communication a lot of them get are firsthand from us. The knowledge of knowing these parents from picking up their students year after year on the same routes and then having them completely changed without any notification is completely taking all safety away. This is not a First Student issue. This is not a driver shortage issue. This issue is completely the fact that you have a Department of Transportation who has absolutely no knowledge in any of these routes and how to run them. Bringing up the fact that we have buses that run empty is a fact of that. They run empty because they have no idea how to put these routes together. They're 30, 40 minutes late for special needs kids because, again, they have no idea how to properly put these routes together. I've been there for 10 years, and the past several years of the new transportation department is only gotten worse and worse. First Student has done everything to try to suggest, to try to open up communication, to try to help the employees, and that's all that the Department of Transportation has done is take more and more control away, meaning more safety away. I have a son who's a sophomore at Pilgrim. For 10 years, we've been told you never cross kids, cross 2 lanes or more, 30 miles or more. They have my son set up to cross 6 lanes at 6 in the morning to get to his bus stop. I have confronted now 3 times Department of Transportation, and I've gotten the same words that were stated on the news. It's doable. My son's life is not doable. For 10 years, First Student has said it's not doable. The safety manager has said it's not doable. I have to now find him rides to and from school every single day, and yet I drive the bus for every other kid in this town. It's not doable. And it would literally, every single driver in that area has said, I can swing by and pick up your son and anyone on that side so it's safe. And Warwick Public Transportation says, no, we don't want them to do that. That kid can find a way to the stop. How is this even acceptable for it to get this far? $368 savings and a kid's life on the line.
Hi, Leah Hazelwood, Warwick School employee. I wasn't planning on saying anything this evening, but after listening to her, that's a call to action. This has to be addressed. Has to be addressed. It needs to be found, if trust but verify, always. No disrespect, ma'am. But at the same time, we're responsible for these kids. We have to make sure that we're doing the best by them and by their families. So I would say to you, please look into this. Please look into this and let's make it better. We can do better here. I believe in all of you. We can do better, okay?
Anyone else for public comment? Okay, moving along to future meetings. We have the Achievement Subcommittee meeting on October 18th at 2:30. We have the Policy Subcommittee meeting on October 26th at 4 p.m. We have the Warwick School Building Committee meeting on November 1st at 7:30 a.m. and a monthly school committee meeting in November 9th at 7 p.m. I have a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.